All right, here we go. We are live. Welcome to Hanging with TTO, where we do Hanging with TTO every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm happy to have you guys with us. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, send out smoke signals to your group because we have Michael Newkirk with us who's going to drop some bombs on us. And I was just chatting with him, had the privilege of chatting with him earlier today and several times before, and his experience is amazing. So you want to make sure that you have everyone that you know on this hangout. So invite your team if you haven't done so already. So we have a few updates that I'm really excited about. I have my phone with me, and this sucker has been dinging all day long. Ding, 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 ding. And I love it. I love the sound of the dinging. Why? Because it's coming from my TTO app, my Team Takeover app. If you haven't done so already, you need to alert your team, do whatever you have to do. Get them on the line and tell them to go and download the app to their phone. You can go into the Google Play Store. If you have an Android or iOS, you can go into your App Store and download the app for your favorite four-letter word, free. And what I like about the app, I'm just going to talk about the app right now. But what I like about it is when I was addressing the envelopes for my free sample leads today, it was really, really convenient and really easy to see all of the addresses that you had. And like, I don't know, it was really easy for me to just keep scrolling up and seeing. I like the layout of the app a whole lot. It's really easy to use on your phone. So if you haven't done so, I'm sorry. If you haven't done so, go and download that app because it's absolutely incredible. Make sure that all of your teams are doing step 1 through 9. And if you haven't done so, do step 1 through 9 in your Team Takeover marketing system back office. And if you're new, you want to go to teamtakeovermarketing.com/sign-up-new. Make sure that your new people are getting in there together. Michael's going to talk about why having an app like this and why having a system is going to help you in your business as well. So with all of that being said, I just want to say hi to Michael Newkirk and thank you so much for joining us on the Hangout. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, thank you so much for being with us. I'm really, really excited that you decided to join us. You know, I've kind of been, I don't know. I saw you in Vegas. I keep on forgetting where we were. What? I'm like, where were we? And I was asking him question after question after question about network marketing. So this time, all of you guys get to hear Michael's story. So I don't want to take anything away. So why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about your background, how long you've been in network marketing and things like that.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. First of all, I always like watching you guys on the Hangouts.
Thank you.
And now I get to be on one. So, right. We were laughing earlier. I've got the crickets chirping. After 8:30, I have to go outside to do any work because my kids will wake up, and then you guys don't want that. Neither do I, by the way. So, well, yeah. I mean, I got. Wow, what year was it? It was 2001. No, 2002. I'm sorry. It all runs together. 2002 that I got into this profession. My dad, I happened to be a teacher at the time. I graduated college in 2001. I worked a corporate job for a year. I hated it, so I became a teacher. And because my mom was a teacher, I wanted to coach basketball. Loved it. It was very exciting, very rewarding, but it didn't take me long to realize that I was going down a road of financial misery for my whole life. I didn't want to be a martyr, and the environment in the teaching system is kind of political as well. So, you know, I decided, hey, I need to do something different. So I started a part-time business really because my dad, he ran a food mart for 19 years. And when he sold his food mart, he decided he was going to get into this weird pyramid-y thing, right? Selling nutritional supplements and weight loss and some different things. And I'm like, well, you know, I was the classic example of the right person at the right time. If you had come to me maybe right out of college, I don't think I would have gotten it at that time. I was still kind of caught up in trying to, you know, climb that ladder like we all do. Right when I first started teaching, I probably wouldn't have been into it because I was excited about teaching, but it got to me at the right time. And I was like, you know what, Dad, I'll do just about anything. So after, you know, I bumped $250 off of him, I joined that deal. And, you know, certainly struggled a little bit, but, I went to my first event, Cheryl, in May of 2002, and had no idea what I was doing. But when I left that event is when I kind of got the fever for the profession. I'm like, oh, wow, now we just, open Pandora's box. I was ignorance on fire, but I was totally excited and sold out on the whole, the possibilities, all the things that I could really have. Or told me I'd had an opportunity to do that. And when the guys walking across the stage were wearing purple suits and driving Dodge Vipers and could talk a lot worse than me, and I'm from Kentucky and I still couldn't understand them, I knew, hey, if they could do it, I can do it. So I got in, worked real hard, and in a year that company folded. And you know what? That was my first experience in the profession. I found another home after that and stayed for just over 12 years, actually, in the same opportunity, building it, and joined Jeunesse just this time last year. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's me.
That's how you got started. That's amazing. So you've been in the industry for about 13 years, 12 years?
Yeah, 13 years. So we go back to 2000, almost 14. Yeah.
Right. So I know some of the things that we've talked about was one of the things that you really felt strongly about was sharing your why. And we have this inside of your marketing system, you go through the 9 steps, and we have a place where you can share your why. And that's something that you had talked about and how that's helped you. If you can kind of relate that to, what you were talking about earlier, how we were talking earlier about why sharing your why can become so strong to building a team.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's everything. I was lucky, at least when I first got into the profession, my mentor was very skilled and knowledgeable about the profession. He did it right. I remember the quote that was shared with me the first time I ever talked to him, and he said, listen, until you know why, the how doesn't matter. Because I was just like every distributor. I'm like, all right, I get in here. Okay, how do I do this business? What do I say to people? I'm going to go out here and tell everybody I know. First of all, he told me to shut my big mouth. And then he said, listen, Michael, I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful. It's just that you're going to run out here and puke on everybody you know and ruin the best prospects you're going to have. So just shut your mouth and listen and follow the steps. So I was lucky somebody told me that up front because I didn't run out and puke on everybody. So, but until you know why, the how doesn't matter. How do I do the business? What do I say? What tool do I use? At that time, as a videotape. What I show them the video. Do I do this? And listen, why are you doing this business? Well, I want to make money. Well, no, why are you really doing the business? And he made sense. Like, listen, you're going to get started in this business and you're going to be ignorance on fire for about 60 to 90 days. You're going to be running around with like a chicken with your head cut off, and you're going to go through people and you'll have some success, maybe not a lot, maybe some. And then at the end of 60 or 90 days, you're going to hit this plateau and you're going to slump. And he goes, if you don't have real good reasons, if you haven't really gotten in touch down to the soul from your head to your heart, why you're doing this, you're just going to give up and go out because you just don't have a reason to do it. So before you do anything else, we had a form, and it said, ironically, it had your 20 reasons for why you were doing the business and your top 3. And it made us cut them out, put them in our wallet, put one in our car, put one on our bathroom mirror, and look at them every single day. And said, I want you to look at that every single time you feel like quitting. And honest to goodness, I kept that little sheet of paper with me from 2002 up until about 2 years ago when I washed my wallet and it was falling apart and it ruined the paper. You couldn't, open, you couldn't read it anymore. But those reasons stayed with me in my wallet for over a decade. Because the culture there was if they came and asked you, hey, where are your reasons? You had to be able to pull them out. Otherwise, you were like exiled. Because they just understood it wasn't for me. It wasn't for them to see my reasons. It was for me because they understood, look, you don't know why you're doing the business. The how will never matter. The marketing system won't matter. The verbiage won't matter. The text scripts won't matter. The sample requests won't matter. If you don't know why, the how will never matter. And it was so adamant there. And see, Cedric is brilliant. He knows that too, which is why he put it all in there, because he knows that himself. That's why Cedric is the fastest diamond in the history of Jeunesse and one of the iconic people in the network marketing profession, because he gets that, which is exactly why I wanted to be part of his team. So it's imperative, Cheryl. I mean, there is if until somebody figures out why they're doing the business and digs down deep and finds it, there's no need to do anything else. It's literally that important.
Right on. Do you agree? So in my mind, I can say that I thought that I knew why I was doing this business. So in my mind, I had this whole idea of why I was doing the business. But the moment that I had to write it down, for some reason, the moment that I had to write it down, it was a lot more difficult to me to write it. And I had to be so much more clear about why, that the why actually became stronger because I had to go and explore it in an effort to write it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Michael?
Oh, absolutely, I do. And here's the one thing I'll say to folks: if you want to understand how important what Cheryl just said about writing it down, go to YouTube and search Earl Nightingale, "The Strangest Secret." It's from I think it was recorded in the 50s or 60s. Earl Nightingale, "The Strangest Secret." You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Cedric. You don't have to believe Cheryl about how important this is. Go listen to Earl Nightingale, and he literally goes into, the strangest secret. I recommend you listen to it, download it if you can, and memorize it, because it is the strangest secret of why some people are successful and everyone else is not. And it goes specifically to what Cheryl just said about writing down what you want. It becomes real. It's so important. Listen to that. Earl Nightingale, "The Strangest Secret."
Thank you for sharing. I just wrote that down myself. Like, let me go and write that. But I will say that from my own experience, I really thought that I knew exactly why. But when it came to writing it down, it became just a little bit more clear. I had to put it in words and I had to write it down, and it was real. It was, and I hang on to it. It's not for, it's not like I go and share it with the world, but to me, it's become one of the most important pieces of paper, and I think everybody should do that. So, Michael, thank you so much for sharing that aspect of, why you think the why is so important. I appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, so you've been in this industry. For me, all of a sudden I start smiling because I want to know about adaptability, how important it is, because you've been in this industry. I have a small amount of experience in the industry, but to me, it's like if I could sit somebody in a room that's been in this industry for 13 years, I think I've said it to you, I could sit here all day and listen to every single story because I'm so fascinated by it. But adaptability in this industry, for you, and how things have changed in the past 13 years. How do you think that the industry has changed and how adaptable you've had to become to that?
That's a great question. Well, it's changed a lot, but at the same time, it hasn't changed at all.
Mm-hmm.
When you do something, there's probably the people that have been in network marketing for 10, 12, 13, even maybe even 20 years or so. That's a dime a dozen. There's plenty of people in it, but most people that say they've been in the business for 10, 15 years, they haven't been in the business 15 years. They just had one bad year repeated 15 times. So it takes, a tremendous amount of commitment to be able to weather that and completely, continue to progress along that time. I'll say this, adapting and what's really changed over the years. Here's the thing I can tell you about it. This is the law. Human nature is human nature. You can go back and read Think and Grow Rich. You can read The Magic of Thinking Big. You can listen to Earl Nightingale. Wisdom of the ages, success principles have been around since the beginning of time. And in the 20th century, the early 1920s, 1930s. I mean, Think and Grow Rich was written in 1930 something. And it's still a book we all read today. So the success principles, the wisdom of the ages, they haven't changed at all. Human nature will never change. And everything we're talking about today applied 200 years ago, and it'll apply just the same 200 years from now. It will never change. This profession, when it comes down to the core principles of what it really takes to be successful and lead people. That being said, technology, society, different things like that certainly change, and it changes quicker now than it did 10 years ago. And in the next 10 or 15 years, it'll even change even faster. But all that is change in methods of how to create leads and reach people. Once we've reached leads and we've reached people and we're able to communicate, everything goes back to the same principles that it was since cavemen. I mean, we're talking to each other, we're communicating. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And you have to be able to systematically lead people through a process of, getting customers, creating relationships, and building a business. None of that will ever change. Leads, technology, yes, absolutely. I mean, back in the day, we were sharing VHS tapes with people, for a business presentation. Then we thought we were cool when we had a DVD. Now we don't even have a DVD. I'm like, where's the DVD? Now we're doing Google Hangouts, webinar TV. This is like Back to the Future stuff, but it doesn't change the message and what we're really actually doing. The back then we had to mail pamphlets. Now we can send a text with a video. Information can be shared differently. We can reach people differently. The internet has been wonderful because we can reach more people quicker, faster, easier, and cheaper. But at the end of the day, nothing's really changed. People are still people. You still have to communicate, and it all goes down to the wisdom of the ages that have been talked about and written about since the 30s, and will still be written about 200 years from now.
Right on. Great answer. Thank you. It's so true. Everything that you say, it just puts a smile on my face. I'm like, wow. Yeah. Thank you for that. So we talked about the industry and the industry changes, but how do you think, for you, how do you think you've changed over the past 13 years in this industry? What do you think has changed in you over the past 13 years, if anything?
Oh goodness, man, we could be on here all night with that. If you ask a networker, how much different are you this year as you were opposed to last year, and they don't say drastically, then something's wrong. They're all lying. Everyone. I mean, it is an evolution of who you are once you become a professional here. You change every day. I mean, when I got started in network marketing, I didn't even know that. I mean, I went to college, but I don't know if I ever went to a bookstore. So, I didn't know that you could actually go in a bookstore and there was a self-development section. I didn't know it even existed, So when I got on my first, training call in my first company, and they're talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the magic of thinking big, Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, what are those? People read? I don't think I read a book in college, and it's just, I was exposed to personal development for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I think once you do that and you read that Rich Dad, Poor Dad was actually the first book I read when I got into the profession, my first self-development business book. And I read it and I'm like, oh my God, Pandora's box was just opened, and, and I got this addiction to personal development. And I can say honestly, within, over the last several years, look, we're never always going up. We go down personally. Back then I was a very negative, I don't want to say negative, but a cynical person, because I thought I was funny and cool. I don't know how some people stood to be around me, to be honest with you. But once I got in this business, it changed me inward, because I saw an avenue to change myself, to be empowered. It didn't have to go through that system. And it just, personally, that changed. My hunger for personal development changed, and it changed a lot of things. I mean, it's an education, as Jim Rohn said. A formal education can make you a living, but a self-education can make you a fortune. And I just decided to become self-educated. I'm still being self-educated, but that's the biggest change in me. Is by far, the commitment to personal development, and I got a few tricks for that too. So. Yeah, but that's the biggest change. I mean, just always trying to improve myself and what's between my ears. If you work hard on your business, you'll make some money. But if you work harder on yourself, you can make a fortune. So,
yep. We always hear personal development with a product attached. I could almost know the answer, but I had to hear it in your own words. So it was good to hear. So you were talking about books and things like that. What are maybe your top 3-5 books that you would say, have absolutely changed your way of thinking, changed your life, or so impactful to you that you feel like, okay, everybody should read these?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's too many to count. But
Yeah.
if I said, I mean, but for me, the first book, like I said, that I ever read
Poor dad.
about anything was Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not a book about network marketing, although it
Yeah.
does mention it in there. But what it did is it got me to open my eyes and start thinking about how things really do work, and that there's more out there than just being in my box of getting up, going to work, come home, watch the Idiot Box every day. So that was the first thing, and it's an easy read, and it got me into the whole concept. I think everybody has to read Think and Grow Rich. That's almost like a prerequisite, you know. And probably my favorite of all of them is The Magic of Thinking Big, David Schwartz.
The Magic of Thinking Big. It's awesome. Thank you. I wrote all that down. So read the. I had not read The Magic of Thinking Big though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'll read that in the next day or so. Got to get your personal development in. So you talked about leading systematically, which is something that I wanted you to touch a little bit more on. So if you can kind of talk about how you lead systematically or why you think that's so important, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, well, let me back up and say, I've always understood leading systematically, and I'll be the first to tell you I'm guilty that I haven't always done it. You could go round and round and debate with people all day long whether they think something can actually be unified and duplicated or not. But I believe that I've come to an understanding about this that few people ever will, just because of the experiences I've been through for so long. In the company I built for 12 years was never in a position that Jeunesse is in, where it's solid, it's stable, and has ownership at the top that truly understands network marketing, truly understands people, truly understands. Are you still there? Sure. Yeah, my battery's getting low, but we'll be fine. Truly understands all that. So we were always constantly trying to just figure things out as we went along. That's why we never got real big. And there's really two types of leaders in network marketing companies. The first type is what we call a 3%er or a mudslinger, right? They're just, and they're the people that can enter this business with the skill sets, the mindsets, the attitudes that they enter this business with, that they can already be successful. They might be a super broker or somebody that's been in a background of just high level sales, and they have high influence on people. They're the people that the proverbial whales we talk about, right? I just landed the mayor of a city or whatever the case may be. Those people, we call those 3%ers because they're just somebody that no matter what they do, no matter what they get into, they enter the profession already with the skills, mindsets, and attitudes to make it happen. They've got guts of steel. Their energy levels, they're a bull and to make money here and everything else they do, right? That's about 3% of the people that join the business. Well, that's great, but those people don't develop people a lot of times. They run, but they can throw enough mud on the wall. Some of it sticks. They make some money, but after time, nothing duplicates because personalities don't duplicate. Only systems do. You can't take, Cedric leads from a different perspective, but you can't be Cedric Harris. You can't be Cheryl Coco. You can't be, Sandy Billick. You can't be Lisa Marie Carter. Their personalities are their personalities, and they don't duplicate. There's only one of them. So in order for you to build a duplicating team, you have to lead systematically, because if you don't, you're relying on people just to come into the business with the skills, mindsets, and attitudes from off the bat. But how many people, they enter the business because they typically don't have that, and they're looking for an opportunity to be developed. So the whole idea behind leading systematically is that this business truly is about developing leadership, a personal development program with a product attached. Then we literally have to take that little sliver of people, which we call the 27%ers, who have a work ethic. They'll do as directed. They'll come down that road, and we can teach them concept by concept how to get to the top by essentially cookie cuttering the business. Everything from starting from the reasons, creating the warm list, approaching the hot list with the specific script, specifically, systematically, word for word processes to help develop those people to become leaders in our business. those things duplicate. If I ask you today, I say, okay, everybody here's probably been to a McDonald's. You shouldn't go, but we've all been there. And McDonald's is one of the largest corporations in the history of the world, and it's ran by 17-year-olds. Why? Because I can take a McDonald's worker from China, put them in Buffalo, New York, and the French fryer is always on the left. You know, it's cooked at the same temperatures. When you bring somebody up at the cash register, it's always, would you like fries with that? The ice cream machine's always on the right. I know if I walk into a Starbucks today, the barista's going to ask me, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you? It's always the same. It doesn't matter if I go to Starbucks here in West Palm Beach or in New Jersey or California or North Dakota. They're always going to say, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you today? Because it works. And if you're leading systematically, you can take the people who aren't 3%ers, right? And you can build an empire on them because they'll learn system by system, concept by concept, all the way to the top. It's a lot harder to do it that way because you really do have to put time and energy in it. But because of the TTO system, because you have Cedric, who is just a superstar, he understands developing people, which is why he backed up to do those types of things. And that's why it makes such a difference in our business. Leading systematically, you can look, if you're a superstar, just guts of steel, guts of glory, take no prisoners person, you can make a six-figure income earner. You can do that in network marketing as well as a lot of other things. But in order to get to high six figures and even seven figures and beyond, you have to be able to systematically build and develop people. And the only way you do that is through systems, not personalities.
Right on. That was amazing. Hold on, let me fix myself. That was so really good information I wrote down. Personalities don't duplicate and systems do. And taking people through the system. And, that 3%, that 27%, all of that stuff right there, to whoever's watching, you have to understand how golden this stuff is, especially to the beginner. I know for me, everything that's said, I hope how it resonates with you guys as much as it resonates with me, and understanding how lucky we are. How great it is to have this opportunity and have a system like the TTO marketing system, to have someone who knows that personalities don't duplicate, but systems do, and we can take people through the system, and how important that is to growing our businesses, because people aren't going to always do what you do, or they're not always going to resonate or do your personality. You can't duplicate that, but systems duplicate. Michael, thank you so much. That was an incredible, wow. I just have to back up. That was an incredible answer to leading systematically. So for all of us in here, I'm going to kind of change it up a little bit, but for a lot of us in here, getting over that fear, or the fear of maybe failure or failing forward or trying things out that are new, how important it is to take action in your business instead of waiting around and being able to say, okay, how has that changed for you, or how strongly do you feel about that kind of failing forward concept or taking some massive action?
Well, I think, again, it all goes back to the reasons. Are you able to see me still? Because you froze up on my camera.
Oh, no, I see you.
You're seeing me good. Okay. You have your face. So it all goes back to the reasons. If I ask everybody on the webinar, and I can't see anybody's hands, I ask how many people in here, play a musical instrument? How many people in here have ever learned a martial art? How many people in here have ever learned how to drive a 6-speed? Lots of different things. And there'd be lots of people raising their hands saying, oh, I can play the piano, or I took karate and I'm a black belt. There'll be some people that do that. And then if I said, but how many people do you know that took piano lessons and never learned to play the piano? How many people do you know that, decided to sign up to martial arts, but they didn't finish, or how many people do you know that tried anything and then didn't do it? Well, always goes back to the whole fear of failure is they had reasons, they had reasons. And if your reasons are strong enough, those things don't get in the way. We're all afraid. We're all scared. Nobody wants to fail, be laughed at. But when we have strong reasons, when we are driven to a purpose, all right, like the strangest secret we'll talk about, then you just find ways to go ahead and get through that, because it's more important to you to have that goal, to have that dream, to have that reason fulfilled than it is to, get your feelings hurt.
Right. Exactly. So just keep trucking on. I mean, as soon as you started to talk, I'm like, yep, I know somebody who did that. Yep, I know somebody who did that. Yep.
And why did somebody become a black belt? Because they wanted to. They had a reason to do it. They wanted to bad enough, and that's the thing. That's why it's why it all starts there. Because if you don't identify that stuff, you're literally you're asking to get out of the profession because you don't have any reason to keep going.
Right. So the activity that people take, you talked on the tip of the day call the other day, Monday. It was a very good call. If you can kind of touch, you talked about value-based activities. If you just kind of touch on that for a second, if you haven't listened to Michael's TTO tip of the day call, I believe it was, what day was it? Was it yesterday?
It was either, yeah, I think it was yesterday. It was the first, yeah, it was Monday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Monday.
Yeah.
You really should go back into your marketing system and check that one out. But if you can kind of touch on that value, sorry, excuse me, value-based activities.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that I talked about people being money focused, survival focused, and value focused. And I won't get into all three of them, but essentially we were talking about what value focused really is, and everybody thinks they are value focused, but value focus is coming from a perspective of the other person matters, and what I'm bringing to them is about value, not me getting rich, not me being able to pay my bills. And I think when you lead from a perspective of being value focused, number one, whether you're saying the right things or not doesn't matter. Like a dog smells fear. People know why you're doing this business, and if you're there because you want to make the money, or you need to make the money because they're going to repo your car, then they just know that, and nobody wants to follow a sinking ship, and nobody wants to join the business to make you rich. It's all about their reasons. And when you're value focused and you understand that what you're taking to people is a life-changing experience in one way or the other, either through the products, the opportunity, or the personal development that it will encourage someone to take, just by being a part of this, then you're truly leading this for the betterment and benefit of the other person. Sometimes they may not see that, but if you're being value focused and you understand that's why you're going to people, and you truly believe that in your heart of hearts, then being afraid of getting your feelings hurt no longer applies, because it becomes selfish. You have to share this with others if you're value focused. Otherwise, you're not sharing it because you selfishly just don't want to feel bad if someone says no. And that's always been my take on what a truly value focused person is believing so much in what you have that you're willing to be vulnerable. And until you get to that belief level, it's really hard to progress in this business.
Right on. Amazing. Guys, if you haven't done so, really, the tip of the day call Monday, value-based focused, is incredible. It's definitely was a changer for me. So I have to ask you, Michael, what do you do every day? What do you do every day that you would say, you guys should do this every day too? What do you do every day that I should be doing? I want to do what Michael does. What do you do every day that I should be doing?
Yeah, well, it varies. If I told you my daily thing, a lot of you guys wouldn't want to do this business, because you'd be like, you mean I got to go out and clean horse stalls and, change baby diapers and all that other stuff, right? I do have two kids. I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old. She'll be 5 in October. We have 8 horses on the property. We have, essentially, when you count me and my wife, we have 18 mouths to feed every day. So we got a little ranch here, and it's pandemonium most of the time. So I literally have to take a schedule and block out times that literally just don't exist for business purposes, and then fill everything else in between. So if you have a 9 to 5, you're pretty lucky, because you can come home at 5 and basically eat dinner and just, you're off to work for the rest of the day. Are we still on?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I'm on like low power mode, so just to let you know. So that's that. But little things that I have built into my habits are this, because I believe so much in personal development. It's amazing what happens when you open your mind and put good stuff in. We don't have television service. I'll tell you right now, the best thing you can do is, if you have satellite or cable or something, is to cut it and throw it away. You'll never make money watching the Idiot Box. I don't care. I know it's uncomfortable, but if I were you, I'd get rid of it. Get Netflix if you want to watch something from time to time and schedule entertainment time. Get you an Apple TV or whatever. You can watch movies, and you can get an antenna if there's something important or you have a hurricane come through. But I would get rid of the TV because that's got to be the number one waste of time, ever.
Yeah.
So that, but one of the things that I do, because I am doing so many different things here, is I keep in my vehicle. I do podcasts a lot there's a lot of them that I listen to that are network marketing related and personal development related. So there's a ton of podcasts that I just subscribe to, and they're constantly playing. I'm constantly listening to audios all I can. I don't get a lot of time literally to sit down and read undisturbed without some sort of distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can pop my headphones in, or I'm in my car and I'm listening to audios, they're going in even subconsciously when I'm not paying 100% attention. And that's a huge staple. I can always tell physically and mentally when I haven't been listening to personal development and I've listened to the morning show, or even when I get curious about the presidential election and maybe try to figure out what's going on. I can always tell instantly, feeling sluggish, like I'd eating bad food almost when that happens. So one of the things that I would definitely say is get yourself on a personal development program. When you're not specifically speaking to someone or doing something with your family, you're constantly putting in good information, just as you would, good food or anything else, because it's garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out. It's that important. And you'll be surprised at what happens in your business just by cleaning up what goes into your mind. You can truly change everything just by changing what goes into your brain every day. So I recommend podcasts because it's always something new. You don't have to download anything. You can just subscribe, and when something's new, it'll pop up. So if you have an iPhone or an Apple thing, you probably even do it with an Android, podcasts. And there's several of them I like, but there's an infinite amount.
Right on. Definitely take a look at that. I love how you said, even if you have an Android, even so.
Yeah.
So, who do you know that I should know? Who do you know that I should know? Who should I be following that you follow?
I would recommend Dale Calvert's MLM Success Stories podcast. Mainly because, I followed Dale for a lot of years, but Dale is one of the few people that I trust, along with Eric Worre. I don't think Eric has a podcast. He might. There's also one, The Zig Ziglar Show. That one, there is We Train Entrepreneurs, or the Billionaire podcast. There's one there. But I would always recommend the ones that don't have an agenda. Yeah. So to speak. In our profession, there's been an epidemic of trainers and coaches, and there's a lot of really good ones out there, and I recommend a lot, but a lot of them really never had a lot of success in the business. They just relate well to people, and they found a market with people that struggle. They want to talk about food dust and different things like that. And if you do follow people, you want to follow people who have a track record of being successful, and they don't have something to back people into, down the road. They're not trying to build a list just to join an MLM down the road and try to, move your people there. So be cautious of that. So yeah.
Very good. I wrote that down. So I have Dale Calvert, Eric Worre, The Zig Ziglar Show, and We Train Entrepreneurs. Is that right?
That's one of the entrepreneurs. That's what their motto is. I don't know the name, but I can certainly make a post or something and tell you the ones that I watch.
Okay.
But definitely the Ziglar Show is amazing, by the way. That one is by far. Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I know for me, like I have no cable in here and I don't watch the TV, and that has definitely changed my life. And in the car is always a personal development CD. And, those things have changed for me as well and changed for the better. And I like it a lot. So thank you for that. If you guys please take that piece of advice, because I know even for myself, not having TV in here, and like he said, garbage in, garbage out. That was some really fantastic stuff. I'd like to ask you one last question, which I am really interested in because, you have that experience, but if you can kind of sum it up to what your greatest lesson, what was the greatest lesson that you've learned in network marketing so far?
By far, the best lesson that I've learned in the last 13, 14 years is how do I put this? Because I really think it's important that people continue to perfect their trade, to learn the new techniques and skills to get in front of more people. All that's very important. You need to stay up to it. And so I don't want to act like that. I don't think that people should be doing things on Facebook or on Instagram. And a year from now, there'll be some other entirely different medium that people flock to that you can get in front of new people. So just understand that's going to change. But very, very often, for me personally, I've learned that sometimes my quest for MLM knowledge leads to ignorance. And what I mean by that is if you look throughout history at anybody that's been great at anything, sport, leadership, companies, businesses, they're not jacks of all trades. They're just really, really good at a couple, three simple things. Henry Ford was not good at much, but he knew how to build the system. You can look back at you can look at anybody and you'll see that they're not jacks of all trades. And the more knowledge that you seek, sometimes leads to ignorance and too much analysis paralysis. By far, the biggest lesson that I've learned in this business is that, I can learn all the lead techniques that I want, all the skills I want to get in front of new people, but I have got to make sure that I never stray away from the core fundamentals of what make this business work and what it's supposed to be. And that is sharing an opportunity and a product systematically through people, reaching out to people we have relationships with, and continuing that process. If we ever get away from that, if we ever start talking about funnels instead of relationships, if we get away and start talking about, I love attraction marketing, it's great, but you know what? You got to go do it first, then talk about it. These are the things that we have got to remember in our business is the more that we learn, sometimes the dumber we become because we get away from what gets us there. Mastering the fundamentals of this business will never get old. The truth will never change. If you just learn how to do the basics and do them well, they're all you're ever going to need in the business. You'll have plenty of opportunities to find new leads years from now through whatever technology's out there as you do today. But learn how to develop people, learn how to start people correctly, and learn how to take them down the road and not rely on technologies and gimmicks to get you, to build you a business.
Thank you. Yeah. I just want to say, in closing, Michael, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I know I'm one that kind of cornered you and asked you a ton of questions. Talk to me on the phone and I'll ask you a ton of questions. I really enjoyed having you on the Hangout. I learned so much. I'll just keep writing and writing and writing. But the systematic thing, that was so impactful to, my business and understanding that people can't duplicate you, but they duplicate system, and super systems duplicate, to understand how all of that works. The importance of personal development. And to understand how far you can grow in 1 year. Like, I even look back now and say, if you're new and listening on this Hangout, you're not going to be the same person that you are a year from now. And that's one of the beauties of this industry. You're talking to somebody who has so many years of experience here and has told us how many changes that he's been through, all the way from no TV to listening to podcasts and understanding in his own right that he doesn't feel right when, garbage in, garbage comes out. So taking that massive action and, talking to people, creating those relationships, understanding the fundamentals and who to follow, and making sure that you're reading. All of it, really, really incredible information. Michael, I feel honored that you came onto the Hangout and that we had the opportunity to learn from you. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Good night. Everybody wave to Michael Newkirk. Thank you so much. Lighten it up. Thank you again. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye, you guys. See us every Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again, Michael. Bye-bye.
Thank you.